Hi, welcome to my page. If you are new, welcome. If you are coming back, welcome back. I'm glad to have you. My name is Cassie, and let me just give you a little update of what's been going on. So I've been MIA for a couple weeks here with just trying to get everything ready because because I did put my house on the market. So there was a couple weeks that I had my family over and we were really just working on getting the painting done and everything kind of uplifted for when the pictures came and for the house to be put out on the market. So and that happened, and then after that, for that week that the house was like on the market, I couldn't really be in the house very much, and me and my dog, and even sometimes the kids were just kind of like hanging out at parks and stuff. So I just really didn't have all of the time and stuff like that I needed in order to kind of make my videos. So that's why I've been missing. So this video though, we are going to talk about my apartment transformation and how God guided me to my new place. So for the last I would say probably last year at some point, God put into my spirit that, I would be selling the house this year, early spring. So we were kind of talking and stuff, and it came a little earlier than I expected, like by 2 weeks. I was thinking to put the house up for sale after Mother's Day, but it came to be before Mother's Day. So that's why it was kind of much of like a big scramble of trying to get things done and get my family over here and just things like that. So, but with all even the 2 weeks sooner than what I was originally expecting, we were still able to make it by the deadline. So it was very much, it was a huge a weight lifted off my shoulders once all the work was done and the pictures were taken and all of that good stuff. So that was nice. And so then, like reality hit, right? Once the house kind of went online and live to the world that my house was now for sale. That's kind of when it hit like, oh, I better find a place to live. Plus, I wasn't really, I'm not planning on buying at this point. I'm just looking to rent a place. So, I called a few places and said, hey, do you have anything, becoming available like June, July? And there was nothing. They're like, oh no, it's way too early to tell. So I kind of just like stopped looking at things and stuff like that because it really wasn't an option. And at that point, because nothing was going to be available that, everybody knew of. So I kind of just let that go and waited until we got a little bit closer. And like I said, once, we got live, once the house went live online and, people started setting up appointments to come and view the house, and we had an open house on a Saturday. So I was like, okay, now I'm going to start, looking for places because it's, May, and now they should know for if something's going to be available for June at least. So I started looking in my current area, and everything was like no availability, right? No availability whatsoever. So I found one place that did have some availability and it was like under budget. And I thought, oh man, this was going to be good because it was under budget, right? So, like I was going to sacrifice a bunch of things because it was under budget. And so, I go and I fill out the application, and I do everything that I need to do, pay the application fee and all that good stuff, and submit everything. And then the next day, I get the notification that my application was denied. And my heart sunk. I was just like, I didn't know what I was going to do at that point, because there really wasn't anything that was available for what I was really looking for, even though this really wasn't what I was looking for neither. But there was two things that I that made me think like, okay, maybe this can work as for a temporary fix, because it was under budget and it was in the certain school districts that if I was to stay in my area, that's the school that I would like to be in. So that door closed, and I was like, wow, God, I thought this was it. I was totally, like really thinking that that was it, and I got kind of upset, like, what am I supposed to do now? Where do I go? And so, he didn't answer me right then and there. But he did use other people and other things. So for like a week and a half, 2 weeks actually, I was really like upset and stressed, and didn't know what I was going to do, because there was another place that was becoming available in June, but it was over budget, and it was not in the district that I wanted, right? Or in the school field that I wanted. So I was like, you want me to sacrifice this to get this, and I just don't really feel comfortable with this. Like, what's going on, God? So lo and behold, I had a family member send me like another link for some apartments. I started looking at that, and these apartments, there was one that was like it was within my budget, and it was included like heat and hot water, and it looked like it was a different school district altogether, moving to a different town, and it was like, wow, I think I would like to do this, right? Because in all actuality, when all this was happening, I've been wanting to go to this part of town for about 10 years, but I couldn't do it, because at that time I was married and he didn't want to do it, and I really just I couldn't get everybody on board to make that move. So when I received this new link, and this part of town kind of came available, I was like, oh wow, okay, let me drive by, because the school district was really good. And so I'm like, I'm gonna drive by and see what it looks like, right? Because the pictures online can be deceiving and stuff like that. So I just wanted to see what the neighborhood looked like, and to see if I can picture myself there with me and my kids. And so I drove by, and I'm like, oh, I just love this neighborhood. It was just very peaceful, and I just really liked the vibes that it was giving off to me. Okay. So I was like, okay. Then the next day I called, because on this app, or on this, yeah, on not an app, but it was because everything's online now. So on the article, you can put in there what you're looking for, right? So I was looking for a 3-bedroom, and it said that there was a 3-bedroom available at this place. So I was like, oh, this is going to be great, 3 bedrooms within budget and all of that. And so, I called the next morning, 9 o'clock, I'm calling, and don't they say, no, it's been rented and they don't have anything available. And, I'm like, okay, there's some townhouses next door. Are those available? And because they owned both of them. And they said, no, not as of yet. I said, okay. And so, I was like, wow, God, another door is closed. Like all these doors kept on closing on me. And I was like, really starting to think like, wow, am I making a mistake by selling my house? Was this not really the right time to do that? Because I'm just not finding another place to live. And I refuse, to be homeless and stuff like that. So that was not an option for me and my kids and stuff. Um, so, I come back home and I start looking through some different, I think it was the same article, or maybe even I started Googling apartments now on that side of town, in this certain area, and I find a place, right? So I'm like, okay, this is great. I drive by that night. So okay, I can do this. This I could make this like little pit stop. The neighborhood was nice. Same thing. The amenities here was really nice too. Um, so I call and I make an appointment for that next morning. So I call and they said, well, I can show you at 10 o'clock in the morning. And, these days, like you almost can't even wait to see the places because things are just not very available, not staying available for very long. And I'll tell you what I mean by that. So, I was able to luckily get a little bit of time off of work, and I was able to go and look at this place at 10 o'clock in the morning. And so I go, I look, I said, you know what? This looks good. It has the 3 bedrooms. It has 1.5 baths. It has a little patio area, things like that. So it was like nice. And I'm like, okay, with a basement where I have some storage and stuff like that. So it was like good. And so, she gives me like this envelope. I ask her some questions. And then she says, okay, I'll give you a call with some more information and we'll be in touch. So, okay, great. So within like an hour of me leaving, I get a call at like 11:15 saying that that apartment is actually, that apartment was actually rented, right? But they have this other one that is becoming available in June. So now let me just tell you a little backstory. So this apartment that I was going to look at 10 o'clock, this one wasn't available until August. So I still was either going to have to like rent back from the homeowners or trying to get the new homeowners or trying to get the closing delayed because I needed still somewhere for me and my kids to stay until I have a new place, So I was like, oh, wow, August 7th was one of the dates. They were like, oh, between August 7th and August 20th, we can get you in here. They didn't have like an exact date. And that's kind of what they were like working to call me back on, to give me that exact date that they can, because they like to go through, clean, paint, and refresh when somebody moves out before, the new person moves in, which is good because you want a fresh looking place when you move in somewhere. So, but when I was looking at this place, okay, that one apartment that I was looking at, the 4 at 10 o'clock in the morning, was the only one that's showing available. And that's all they said. They said, oh, we only have this 1 3-bedroom available. So I don't know what happens. I mean, it was a miracle. It's God's miracle that this other place became available. So that became available for June 20th. She sent me over the application. And I was, I was approved and everything like that within a few hours of putting everything through. So I knew that this was all, God's doing. So it was a blessing that I got denied from that other place in the earlier in my story that I was telling you about, because that place was like 2 bedrooms with like an area downstairs that, I was either going to put myself or, something like that. I was trying to makeshift a place for us to live, that was doable. And so, we went to another family member's house, and she has a townhouse with like that basement area too that she was kind of using for a bedroom. And so, my daughter, she's like, "Oh, no, Mom, I don't like this. This looks like a jail cell." And that was after the fact that I got denied for that apartment, but before, like, she never seen it, right? So it was just like God knew that this was not going to work and that she was not going to like it. And thank God that it all worked out that way, because then, she would have been really upset with me. And we would have been really, it wouldn't have been a good situation, right? Even if I was down there and they were upstairs in the 2 bedrooms, it just wouldn't have been a great situation. So when God closes doors for you, even though you don't understand it at that moment, and you may be like, "Oh my goodness, what is going on?" It's all for your protection and your greater good, okay? And I also want to tell you this. So part of the problem, right? Okay, honestly, is I didn't really know. I haven't been in this rental community in almost 20 years. Next year would have been 20 years that I would have been in my home. So I really didn't have a clue what the rental properties looks like, what I really wanted, truthfully. I didn't really know. And I just assumed that God knows what I like. God knows everything, so that God would just put me in a place where we would love, because he knew, right? I just assumed that, without giving him in great detail of what I wanted and what was, non-negotiables and stuff like that. And to be honest with you, like, after, don't assume that God knows, because he doesn't really work like that. You have to tell him what you want, and he will make that happen then for you. And so as I was starting looking at places and kind of driving by and looking at different things, I'm like, okay, well, I don't want this, I want that. And this place here that I'm going to be at is nice, because they let you. This was like another blessing, right, for this place. Okay, so there's a few blessings with this place, and I'm gonna name a few of them for you. So this place is a 12-month lease, but they allow you to get out of the lease with a 30-day notice, and you would have to pay like that month's rent that you would be, that you're not living there, but you would be living there if you stayed, So I was like, oh, okay, that works, because that means if those townhouses that I really want to be at, which is the same school district and stuff like that, that this place is that I'm moving into, but it's just a little bit bigger. It's got a garage. It's just a little bit more of what I'm looking for, to be honest. So just in case one of those becomes available before next June, where I would be able to leave this place, I can leave with a 30-day notice and to pay that month's rent. So that was like a blessing where I wasn't tied to this one place, right? The next blessing is that they had a different like program for your what is it? first month's rent and your security deposit. Yes. So, usually it's like your first month's rent and security deposit. So they have this deal with this company. You have to fill out this application. And I filled out this application, and, my security deposit is much cheaper than what it would have been if I didn't go this route. And the only thing is that I don't get this back, right? But let me tell you, it was under $500 for this security deposit. I can't really get into any more details than that, but it was really under what I would be paying monthly. So it was like almost like, okay, you could keep that. And honestly, I don't think I would have been able to get it back anyways if I wanted to leave early. So it just kind of all like worked out that way of didn't have to come up with such a large amount of money and have that amount of money be tied into this place for over, for a year or maybe more, So that worked out well, and that was like another blessing. And then the other blessing was that they did allow dogs. And so, let me just tell you, let me fit this one into that. My dog is a bull mastiff, and she is like 95 pounds. And so a lot of the weight limits on dogs were like 50 pounds. Couldn't go over 50 pounds. Even some of the places that I was looking at was like 35 pounds. I was like, oh my goodness, how am I going to be able to find a place with my dog, and she's part of my family. Like, didn't really, I didn't want to rehome her and all of that because I was, getting divorced and this was the outcome, I didn't want to do that. So, I put something on social media, and I found, a few things that I can do, and I ended up getting my dog, registered as like an emotional support dog through my doctor's office. And that way I can keep her with me, and they can't question or not, they can't say that I can't have her because of her weight. So that was a blessing as well, because, my kids were really upset. I was upset, like, oh my goodness, we didn't want to rehome her. We've had her since she's been a puppy. She's going to be 7. Like, it just wasn't fair. And so with all of everything that's been going on, we didn't need another bad change or anything like that. So it was just really good that, we were able to keep her. So my apartment testimony is that, God made it happen, because when I first was looking at this place, there was only one place available, and that place was already taken by the time I looked at the apartment. And that, God said, let me just fit this in as well. So God said, when I got rejected from, or denied, whatever, from that first apartment that I was telling you about earlier on in my story, he said, you're not going to sacrifice. And so it's like, okay, I'm not going to sacrifice, because I was sacrificing quite a bit. The location wasn't ideal. Just the whole situation wasn't ideal, right? And so, he said, we're not going to do that in this season. So I said, okay, understandable. And then he kind of put on my spirit that of what I've always wanted, right? And that was to be on that other side of town. And so, I was like, okay, because I was kind of thinking that maybe he wanted me to stay on the side of the town, because, God likes his people in areas that need some of his light in the area. So I thought maybe, he wanted me to stay on the side of town and help with things that are happening around here. And, and he says, no, I don't. So going over to the other side of town where I truly, have always desired to be for years now. Like I said, it's been over 10 years actually. And so I told him, because this new place that I'm going to isn't quite ideal neither, but I told him that I was, willing to sacrifice to come to a better, sacrifice for a year, to get, 5 or 6 or however many more positive years after this year. And so, we came into agreement with that, and he was okay with that. And he blessed me with my apartment. So I have somewhere to go. I get the keys, on June 20th, and like my closing for this house, they want to close by the end of June. So like the timing was just so perfect with this. And that means I don't have to rent back. I don't have to do anything like that, for it. So it just worked out. So again, that little mustard seed of faith that I had, I'm glad that I had that. I'm glad that I continued to, grow my faith in with God and his word and all of that, because, I was just, everything is within his timing, right? So, I was a little nervous, to be honest, when things were closing, the doors were closing. I'm like, oh my goodness, this is all on God's timing. This isn't on my timing. And, what if it doesn't align, So my ego started trying to come in and say, oh no, this is bad, and trying to take over. And I think that's really what the feeling was that I got when I filled out the application for the first place, is that ego like trying to like take over or say, oh yeah, this is it, because it was like, considered to be like a safe place because it was in an area, kids' schooling was aligned there and all of that. But then God said, no, this is not what we're going to do. So, so just, keep on having that faith and keep growing that faith. And, his timing, it was perfect with all of it. And so now, I even have more faith that I can just continue walking with him and not and I don't have to worry about so much of the time with it, right? Like, it's in his timing, but I think, with this situation, has taught me a lot to just trust the process, right? And not let your ego try to take over and try to help with the situation. I mean, I did need help by, filling out applications and stuff like that. But the feeling that I got when I started going through this process versus the first process was totally different. And, I should have kind of paid attention to that. But like I said, my ego was kind of kicking in, and I was so worried about having a place for me and my kids to go to. And, because, I mean, people are just waiting for things to go bad for me. I got haters out there. And so, I did not want to prove my haters right that I made a bad decision on selling the house and then not having a place to live for me and my kids. So I was like almost really like guaranteed to make sure that we had somewhere to go. And if I had to sacrifice for a little bit, I was willing to do that. Just say, hey, well, I do have a place to live now for me and my kids, and we are going to be good, But didn't have to do it exactly, and things ended up working out. So keep your faith and keep praying through the whole process, because I was keep praying. I kept on talking to God. I didn't, I was just saying, what do you want? What is the next move here? So when you surrender to God and, you allow him to kind of be the leader in that, you have to, it's going to take some strength on your end to allow things to happen. But I don't regret it. I'm so glad, because I couldn't have made all of this happen myself. So, I would have never found this place if, or even thought, living across town to this new area that I'm going to be living at was even going to be an option for me, to be honest. Because, I was so worried about keeping peace and everything like that with everybody. But, those days are over, right? This is rebuilding, restarting, however you want to say it, after my divorce. And we're going to kind of, I'm going to rebuild and restart my life the way that I've always kind of wanted to live, right? And that would also be, my son was going to change schools anyways, so he's going into middle school. So regardless, it didn't matter, because he was going to a new school, and he doesn't really have foundational friendships yet in this elementary school that he's in. So this was not like, I'm not ripping him away from anything. And my daughter, she was able to stay in the school because she's going to be a senior next year. So she's going to stay where she's at, even though that I'm moving and graduate with her friends. So she's getting what she wants. My son, we're going to, bring him to, I'm going to bring him to this new place, and he's going to go to the new school. And I have a really good positive feeling for this, that, he's going to have a new environment, new friendships, like new everything. And that is going to be very positive for him. So I'm really hopeful for that. So we will see. I'm excited for this next chapter. And now, the next few weeks is going to be really hectic, with getting ready to, pack and finalize everything and kind of, make sure that everything is all set. So yeah, and I will, keep you guys posted as we move forward and with this moving process and rebuilding and restarting in a new town. And I don't really know anybody there. So this is like a perfect little restart for me and my kids. So thank you and have a great night. Bye.